Well, hello, welcome again to a read through of Iliad 22. And I got up to line 331 last time. Just to recap a little bit here, so Achilles has just struck Hector, who now lies dying. And from lines 326 to the end to 366, there's a strong correlation between the structure of the death scene of Patroclus back in book 16 and the death scene of Hector. The basic structure of it is, well, firstly the spear is hurled, the opponent crashes in the dust, there is then a dialogue between the combatants that's about to happen, the death of the loser, we'll hear that as well in this section, and then a speech to the dead. So Achilles now says, Hector, ata pu ephes, patrocle enexarisdon sos essest. So, oh Hector, well, we get a sort of strong ate here, but having killed Patroclus, Ephes, you thought that, and we get SS there, this is a future from the verb to be, that you will be sos. Sos is a contraction of saos. You see it in verbs like sozo, to save, and so on. So here it's just an adjective, safe. So but you thought perchance, that's the pu here, that having killed Patroclus, you will be safe. Opisdio, this is from opisdomai, to have regard for, or to reckon. So you reckoned me as nothing, me being far away, nosvin, napier, you fool. The next little bit's slightly tricky, I thought. So there's ego, and there's the main verb here, which is a pluperfect from lapo, that I was left behind, or perhaps I stayed behind, and then with the meta opis there. So I stayed behind at the hollow ships. I stayed behind anuthen toyo. Toyo uncontracted for two, so far from him, but I was an aoseter, a defender, better by, well, greatly better. It could be, I think you too take the toyo with the anuthen, but you could take it with this as well, with this comparative. So a greatly better defender than him, although far away, I stayed behind beside the hollow ships. That's one way of taking this. It's a tricky couple of lines there, I thought. Hostoi gunat elusa, but I who, indeed, who have loosed your limbs. It's an expression of I've defeated you. Semen kunes edi oinoi. So the dogs and the birds, helkesusi, will literally drag, perhaps almost tear at, se you. Aikos, this form only here, but it's equivalent to the aikos with an epsilon in here, meaning ignominiously or horribly. So the dogs and the birds perhaps will drag or perhaps will tear at you horribly, but, so they'll do that to you, but, so we get set men and then ton de, but to him, that is Patroclus, the Achaeans, Kteriusin from Kterisdo, so it's another Attic future here, they will give burial. So the dogs and the birds will tear ignominiously at you, but the Achaeans will give honourable burial ton to him, that is Patroclus. Ton de aligodraneon. Now this is a very rare word, but it's very poignant here. You can see the roots of this, oligos and the dra. root here, meaning able to do very little. So you could paraphrase it, in a weak state. So Hector of the shining helmet, of the sparkling helmet, in a very weak state, replied to him, addressed him. And you remember earlier Homer says that he got him through the neck, but he didn't cut the windpipe, so he's still able to speak, albeit with difficulty. Listen, this is listen my, I beseech you, understood, on behalf of your life and your knees and your parents. So just note here, of course, the usual tricolon. The Greeks like to do things in threes. So may, imperative here from do not allow me, do not allow the kunas, the dogs, do not allow the dogs katadapsai from katadapto to devour me beside the ships of the Achaeans. Now we get amen, and I think the det must be down here. But you, dedexo, beautiful form here. This is a perfect imperative. You don't see too many of these, but this is a perfect imperative from dechomai. So it's a command, but it's you receive. It's almost you will receive, but it's an actual imperative. So you receive bronze and sufficient gold, gifts which my father and lady mother Dosusin will give toy for soy to you. Now the domino, you could take it it's an infinitive in form. You could again take it as an infinitive for imperative. So give, which is the way I think I'd like to do it. So give back my body homeward. You could understand they're going to give this money so as to give my body back home, but I think I want to take it as imperative for infinitive. So give my body back home, because we then have an offerer, so that the Trojans and the wives of the Trojans, lelakosi, it's an interesting form here. It's a reduplicated aorist from Lancano. It's something like they will allow me to have a share in the fire. Is the sense of it. It's literally may give me my due of fire, although I am dead. So to give my, we would just say in English, so that the Trojans and the wives of the Trojans might give my dead body to the fire. Now the reply, of course, of Achilles is not very pleasant, and we see this hupodra idone, which we've seen before. Whenever you see this in Homer, you know bad news is about to come. So Achilles, swift with respect to his feet, looking askance at him, replied, Me kuon, vocative from kuon, you dog, do not supplicate me by my knees, nor by my parents. Get the nice gunon, gunasdio sound there. A, and then plus, this is A in the sense of, well, it's A with an optative. I think it means would that. You get an optative here at the end. So, would that my heart and my strength in some way, well, it's something like might urge me on, might raise me up, and then auton goes with me myself. So it's quite emphatic. So would that the heart and soul might drive me on, urge me on, edmenai, to eat. This is infinitive from that ed root, from S, the O, to eat your raw flesh, apotam nomenon, me having cut it up. So would that my heart and soul would urge me on, having cut up your raw flesh, to eat it. Hoia e orga, or e orgas. This is from ergo or wherego, with the lost digamma. Such things you have done. In fact, there'll be a couple of digammas that have dropped out in here. So such things you have done. Hos uk est. So nor is there anyone who ap alalkoi. This is an aorist optative. The verb itself doesn't have a present form. It just means to ward off. It's got that alk root there. I think we've come across it before. It's apol plus a reduplicated aorist form, and it's an optative. Since there would not be anyone who might ward off the dogs, who would in fact, for the ge, ward off the dogs from your head. Nor, so not even if, bringing it here, stay sos here, it's a bit funny here, it is from that histemi, but it's got the idea of weighing out, I think. Not if even bringing here, they will weigh out, or would weigh out with the ken, they would weigh out 10 times, and, well, generally rendered 20 times the apoina, the requital, or the I'll just say requital at the moment. This form here, you need to look at the commentaries on this. The etymologies, there are various different possible etymologies. It might mean something like 20 times. It's probably the easiest way of printing it. Others take it to have the sense of countless, 20 countless. So 20 or more times. Ransom was the word I was looking for this. So, and they might promise, from hupisknea might, promise to give also other things. So just to do that bit again, because it's a bit hard, that bit. So, so nor would there be anyone who will ward off the dogs, in fact, from your head, not even if, bringing it here, they might weigh out 10 times and 20 times the apoina, the payment, and they might promise other things beside. Not if, and again this is debated here as to what this verb here, erusasthai, means. The scholiast here apparently says it means to weigh. The usual meaning is to draw up. It could mean to recover, is another, or rescue is another way of taking it. So if it means to weigh, the idea concept here is to weigh out to give your weight in gold, would be the way of taking it. I think I'd probably prefer to take the idea of just to rescue. So nor if Priam, the son of Dardan, might bid you to be, well, perhaps to might give orders to recover you yourself, to get you back, Crusoe, with gold. So a little bit tricky, these lines. You need to look at the commentaries on this, because there's various different interpretations. So it either means to give your weight in gold, or perhaps slightly easier is just to say, not even if Priam, the son of Dardanus, might give orders from anogoi, this is an optative from anoga, might give, goes with the ken, might give orders to rescue you, take the set with the auton, with gold. So I might just quickly do that bit again, because that's all quite difficult. So So no one is there who will ward off the dogs from your head, not even if bringing here they might weigh out 10 times or 20 times the payment and promise to give more, and not even if Priam the son of Dardanus might give orders for you, might give orders to rescue you with gold. Ud hos segepotnia meter, nor hos, so perhaps thus here, your lady mother indeed, the one who, she who herself bore you, so whom, no, sorry, that goes with the hon. So not even if in fact your lady mother, so thus your lady mother, neither will your lady mother Goesatai, having placed you on the bed, will lament you, you whom she herself bore. So it was a bit muffled there. So so not hos, not thus will your lady mother in fact, having placed you on the bed, lament for you, you whom she herself bore, from Ticto. But the dogs and the birds, now the kata I think is a preverb with the das on tie, will completely devour you. Dogs will and the birds will completely devour you. So then Hektor of the shining helmet, as he was dying, replied to him, Aeseu gignoskon proti osomai. Now this is proti for pros, osomai to look at or to glare at. So it's something like, indeed I look at you, understanding or knowing well, other words, understanding the situation. Nor nor was I about then to persuade you, future from Patho. So I was not going to persuade you. And surely the thumos, the heart in your breast or your mind, perhaps professing, for you indeed is made of iron. For surely indeed the heart in your soul or in your mind is made of iron. Fradzia nun, but beware now, or be careful as to put into your frame. So think then now, beware now, lest I might become for you literally a certain menima, a certain object of the gods' wrath, a certain wrathful thing from the gods. On that day when Paris and Phoebus Apollo will destroy you, noble as you are, in the Scaean gates, or at the Scaean gates. Now this is an interesting line here, because it's the first time in the Iliad we hear the full story of how Achilles will die, which of course doesn't occur in the Iliad itself. There were hints of this earlier on, but this is the first clear statement that Paris and Phoebus Apollo are going to kill Achilles later on at the Scaean gates. And thus then, thus the subject here is telos, literally the end of death, the finality of death, covered him as he, after he had spoken. And his psyche, his soul, flying away from his limbs, this is third declension from Erethos, so his soul flying away from his limbs, Bebeke we've seen before, I think it's pluperfect in form from Bino, but it's just used in the sense of the past tense. It went down Aidosti to Hades. So in terms of the Homeric physiognomy, I suppose, the soul, the psyche, goes down to Hades, the thumos, the thing that keeps you alive, I suppose, that just dies at death. So I went down to the house of Hades, got Oosa, this is agreeing with Psyche, lamenting its fate. Sorry, perhaps his fate, I should say, lamenting his fate, or could be its fate, because this is a personal adjective here, so it agrees with Potmon. So it is feminine, agreeing with Psyche, so lamenting its fate. And it's feminine here because it's agreeing again with Psyche. So having left behind the androteta, the manhood and Hebane youth. Now there is a variant reading here of androteta, which would mean something like strength or valour. So having left behind its valour and youth. And glorious Achilles replied to him, even though he was dead, Tethneota. Tethnathi, this is a perfect imperative. Die then, but I, at that time, I will receive my carer, my fate, when Hopoti, whenever indeed Zeus and all the other gods might wish to bring it to fulfillment, or to bring it to an end. So he's not worried about what's going to happen in the future. He says, die then, but I will receive at that time my fate, whenever in fact Zeus and all the other immortal gods might wish to bring an end and will bring it to completion. And that's the next section of Book 22.